Hello there, you're welcome to the only show that brings you happenings in the world of diplomacy and international relations, Diplomatic Affairs. The show comes off every Saturday between the hours of 4 to 5 o'clock p.m. on Pan-African television. We are also very active on social media, that is YouTube and Facebook. So wherever you find yourself, you can catch up with us and get to know what is happening in the world of diplomacy and international relations. My name is Harriet Nartey. On this episode of Diplomatic Affairs, we will take you to the KOFI ANNAN International Peacekeeping Training Center, where the KOFI ANNAN Peace and Security Forum took place. We also will be bringing your way the presentation of credentials by some ambassadors and high commissioners who are in the country as part of fostering engagements between their countries and Ghana. Of course, we have ECOWAS featuring very big on our show today. We know that the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has lifted the ban on Niger. Conversations are currently ongoing. There is a dialogue, and we have spoken to some experts to actually get their views on this unfolding event when it comes to the ECOWAS and Niger. We'll take a break. When we come back, we have all the details for you. Welcome back. The show is Diplomatic Affairs. My name is Harriet Nartey. Now to our very first story, let's take you to the KOFI ANNAN International Peacekeeping Training Center for the KOFI ANNAN Peace and Security Forum. The third edition took place right here in Accra with a call on African leaders to uphold the values and principles of their constitutions to avoid the alarming rise of violent extremism and political instability on the region and the entire continent. Now themed Migration and Societal Resilience in a Multipolar World Order, Addressing Conflicts and Building Peace, the forum highlighted the African Continental Free Trade Area and Regional Integration Agenda, Migration and Conflict in Africa.
Migration represents one of the most important and pressing issues in the contemporary world, and there can be no doubt that it will remain at the center of the global developments and security agenda over the next few decades. Population movements have always been an integral part of the human experience, often providing enormous opportunities and serving as a vital catalyst for development and shared prosperity for both origin and destination states and societies. At the same time, however, migratory movements are not without difficulties. If anything, the challenges have become increasingly varied and complex within the ongoing context of globalization and new technologies of communication. Equally critical is the phenomenon of climate change, which is accentuating the threats posed by food and water insecurity, heat stresses and droughts, rising sea levels and increasing salination of arable lands, unpredictable weather patterns and extreme events that include fiercer storms and floods. Available data indicate that 3.5 billion people, representing some 40% of the world's population, live in places, including Africa, that are highly exposed to the impacts of climate change. As recent cases in the Sahel regions and the Horn of Africa show, climate-induced insecurities are rendering people vulnerable by exacerbating existing conflicts, triggering new waves of violence, and displacing people from their homelands. Although African states are the least responsible for greenhouse gas emissions, they currently bear the brunt of the development and security impacts of climate change due to their reliance on climate-dependent sectors such as rain-fed agriculture and nomadic pastoralism. This irony raises fundamental questions about how prevailing social and power relations and the institutions that frame them condition the forces of migration. Certainly, political and economic mismanagement, extreme poverty, armed conflicts, corruption, and human rights violations remain critical among the factors compelling people to seek greener pastures and freedom from violence elsewhere. At the same time, however, the linkages between climate change and its potential to expose people to diverse forms of insecurity show that most population flows have their sources in both domestic and global injustices. In effect, population movements involving the citizens of African countries are both an outcome of state capacity deficits on the continent and a product of the interaction of African states with the global political economy. Therefore, the skewed focus on in migration policy on challenges emanating from the state in Africa presents only a partial view of the problem. Such perspectives obscure how the unbalanced nature of globalization, including prevailing contradictions in the global trading system, curtails the policy choices and options open to states on the continent, and how that in turn works off to close off their developmental prospects and institutional viability to mitigate the challenges associated with development, security, and migration. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, according to the 2023 World Development Report published by the World Bank, some 184 million people, representing 2.3% of the world's population, live outside of their country of nationality. Currently, the share of working-age adults in many high-income countries that belong to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, is declining sharply as their overall population continues to drop. The report further notes that Italy, for instance, which has a total population of 59 million, is projected to shrink by almost half to 30 million by 2100. Thus, despite the politics that mark current discourses around migration, declining population trends in the advanced industrial countries is forcing increased demand for foreign workers to enhance the long-term viability of those economies. This does not, however, change the fact that more people in the so-called global South are seeking to leave their countries than states in the so-called global North are willing to accept. Meanwhile, the demography of African states, such as Ghana and Nigeria, are largely characterized by the phenomenon of the youth bulge, forcing the need for greater job creation and broader opportunities. The multiple benefits that accompany cross-border migration, such as remittances, knowledge and skills transfer, have become potent forces for poverty eradication in low-income countries. The benefits of migration cannot be optimized, however, without reducing the multiple costs that attend it, including the brain drain problem and mass exodus of critical personnel that include doctors and nurses to rich countries. At the national level, massive rural-urban drifts are depleting our breadbaskets of their essential manpower requirements, while the surging cases of farmer-herder conflicts have become a major source of conflict across West Africa. Indeed, the ECOWAS region is grappling with multiple sources of insecurity that include violent extremism and democratic reversals. The recent decision by the authorities in Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to withdraw from the ECOWAS does not augur well for the security and stability of our common region. The recent political turmoil in Senegal, for example, creates a loophole for miscreants to perpetuate insecurity in the region and deepen the migration crisis. Indeed, such developments are deflecting the attention of the community away from deeper and more meaningful regional integration and economic development that are anchored on the protocol relating to the free movement of persons, the right of residence and establishment. Together with my fellow ECOWAS counterparts, we're seeking ways to find amicable solutions to the challenge of ECOWAS integration.
No longer think about our economies, societies, or cultures without thinking about migration and human mobility. Migration is inevitable, necessary, and desirable when well governed. There are many questions about the impact of migration that we are gathered here to address. What is certain is that large-scale human mobility is already a mega trend of the 21st century, and it is vital that we work together to manage migration in the best interest of states and migrants.
Africa and Europe have a shared interest in managing better migration, precisely to diffuse tension and to reinforce peace, the famous societal resilience. And this is precisely what the European Union is doing both in Ghana, and with ECOWAS.
At the region, especially in the last 3 years, we have seen a number of coups d'etats in neighboring countries, great acceptance of military rule, growing skepticism towards a multilateral and rules-based world order, and an increase in organized crime and extremist activities. In the end, even leading to the announcement of the countries Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to leave ECOWAS, the most recent and serious manifestation of a political divide in the region. Driving factors for division and destabilization are multifaceted, and they span from transnational organized crime, diminishing livelihoods due to climate change, decades of unfulfilled globalization promises, disinformation campaigns, and a general feeling of being left behind.
To our next story, we are talking about ECOWAS. ECOWAS has been in the news for almost all the wrong reasons, and the latest is the decision by the regional bloc to lift the sanctions Niger, and this has actually had so many people talking. Some international relations experts have actually shared their views on this particular story. I decided to speak with Farouk Al-Wahab, an international diplomatic consultant, and also Ziad Hamoui, who is the president of the Borderless Alliance, just to tease out their views on this developing story. Lately, ECOWAS has been in the news for almost all the wrong reasons, but leaders have assured us that they are working assiduously to promote peace and security when it comes to the operations or the mandate of the West African economic security, peace, you name it, the regional pact. So we are waiting to see how it all unfolds. At every gathering that African leaders meet, ECOWAS features in the conversation. We will be talking to the people who are on the ground when it comes to trade or commerce with regards to the regional pact to find out how they are affected. What have you been up to?
I was following on what is happening in ECOWAS region. We were, there was a lot going on, as you rightly said, for all the wrong reasons. Border closures, problems with movement of goods across the region. In November, there was an issue with Niger. Later on, a few months down the line, all of the landlocked countries decide that they are going to break out of ECOWAS. As of last week, that was disturbing. It wasn't surprising, but it was disturbing all the same, because eventually you will see that everyone's interest is in staying together. However, it would seem that ECOWAS as a group has lost its shine to some of its members, but especially the smaller countries. And because of the implications on the free movement of goods and people, within West Africa, especially with the landlocked countries, you'll realize that you need a quick solution by looking at exactly what the problem is. All of the countries need each other, but it seems as if there is less focus on the economic development aspects of regional integration and more on the political side and the security side. And these are not wrong per se, because all of these elements are important together, because without trade and development, you can't have security and peace. But also without peace and security, you can't have trade and development. So all of it has to go together. And then you have this feeling where ECOWAS as a group was overemphasizing on politics and security at the expense of economics. And that might be actually the reason behind the final decision of the landlocked countries of Mali, Burkina, and Niger to leave the bloc. Now, the good news is that a few questionable decisions from the ECOWAS Commission were reversed by withdrawing some of the sanctions. And then it seems that there is at least a window of opportunity for these countries to sit down on the same table and to discuss what really the problems are, what the concerns are, and how to move forward.
I know that sanctions have been lifted, but then do you think...
So the sanctions were lifted just this meeting, which took place on Sunday, the Extraordinary Heads of State Summit, which took place in Abuja over the weekend. Before that, there was no talk about lifting sanctions. There was actually talk of invasion, and that is what broke the camel's back. And then Niger, Burkina, Mali decided to take a unified stance to leave the bloc.
Do you think our leaders will begin to also look at the economic benefits when it comes to the operations of the pact?
So here's the thing. The landlocked countries rely on the coastal countries as entry and exit points for their normal trade and goods, whether it is, for example, critical medical or food or equipment or even defense weapons. All of it has to come through a port of entry, whether they are exporting livestock or gold or other raw material or food or livestock. All of it also has to go through the... So all these countries have economic interests. Now, all of them share these interests. However, it is and it all has direct consequences on the regional trade, especially at the borders. And border crossings are where most of the challenges are. Now, these challenges were there, mind you, before even the start of this latest saga of and its implications on freedom of movement. But the reason we are concerned is that this kind of breakaway creates this situation of, unpredictability for traders and economic operators who move their goods across borders. And it also creates a situation where border regions have less economic activities for the border communities. And this also exacerbates the problem. So it's a compound problem. There are economic operators and traders who benefit directly from the trade flows. There are economic operators who benefit indirectly through the creation of additional economic activities along the roads. And then finally, there are the border communities which benefit mostly from the informal trade or even the formal trade or the provision of services for cross-border traders. So all of these are at stake if we don't have a quick and a peaceful and a long-lasting solution for the landlocked countries' dilemma within ECOWAS.
Last question, how do we elevate the conversation when it comes to commerce within member states?
The first one is to understand that the economic is the underlying root cause of all of the issues and challenges. Once we know that there is a lot to lose and that the stakes are high, and then we want to see how to serve the interests of the countries, but also as the group of countries, then that is where we sit down on the table of the negotiations and say, what do we need from each other? How do we talk business? And at the same time, how do we solve these non-technical challenges? Because there are two types of challenges which are currently weighing in on the problem within ECOWAS. There are the technical challenges, which have to do with the fact that, well, there are difficulties and challenges with moving goods across. But then there are non-technical challenges that have to do with either some of the unconstitutional government changes or some of the political spectrum of interference from beyond the region, and all of these need to be factored into when you are talking about how to find a solution. Because when you are talking solution, you have to look at the options and the alternatives, and then you have to weigh in on the alternatives and eventually come to a common point and a kind of a compromise point that is a mutually agreeable solution. I believe that the announcement of the lifting of the sanctions, they haven't been lifted yet. The sanctions have been announced to be lifted. And then all of it depends on really how the landlocked countries will respond. But then they wouldn't respond by themselves. What we need to do now at the ECOWAS level is to decide on selecting or shortlisting a group of mediators on behalf of ECOWAS who have no direct affiliation, who have credibility, who are known to be peacemakers, who are known to be negotiators, who will bring everyone to the table and then to relay and to dialogue, basically, in order to achieve the consensus necessary to work a long-lasting solution.
Me, I think it came pretty late. It is a little bit late. ECOWAS would have to work herself up as an organization to properly reach out to these three countries that were affected by their sanctions, even though economically not affected. It is not true. Geographically, of course, not affected. Historically, not affected. Socially, in my view, not affected. Traditionally and culturally, not affected. Nevertheless, it's the organization membership that they were affected. I've said, and I remain, ECOWAS sanctions means only to turn the chair or the tables of the affected country and turn it against that nobody's sitting on. Nothing more than that. The reason is very simple. ECOWAS member countries benefits to each member country is just benefits of talk, benefits of discussions, benefits of tea, and benefits of only congregation or meeting on a table, call it a summit or confab or anything. But with regards to declarations, with regards to communique, with regards to charter, agreements, contracts, call it whichever, ECOWAS is not up to the work, which 1975 born organization should be acting now. And for that matter, the Burkinabes, the Malians, and the Nigerian, the Niger, they have exposed ECOWAS big time. ECOWAS didn't take the steps to find out that if coup d'etats are taking place in three countries, the causes and the effects and the people of those countries, I'm talking about the citizens, how they receive, because at the end of the day, they are the receiving end of a government. Either military or civilian, they are the receiving end. And ECOWAS didn't take the steps to find out from the Malians, are they comfortable with the leadership of the military junta or Burkinabes and then the Niger? All the three countries. I told you that the nationals, the population widely welcomed the coup d'etat because the events leading to that and their reasons for the coup d'etat was very clear. And it was clear in a point that if Mali was subjected under intense pressure, facing 14 active rebel groups, and these are hardcore, serious rebel groups, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Sawad and Sidid, Islamic Maghreb, you can name them, Boko Haram, etc., all put together. And ECOWAS didn't see the sense of what? Putting that so-called strength and the energy that they wanted to attack, asking Niger to vacate, asking Assimi Goïta to vacate, or Burkina to vacate. They didn't put that energies and that strength by going to those places and help the countries redeem effects and pressure that have been what? Brought upon the government and the people and the regions, the district, the municipal, and the communities which the rebels were just killing just indiscriminately. We have said that when there is an issue affecting or current happening in an ECOWAS member country, the best practices diplomatic is to look for the diplomatic window and explore the diplomatic avenues up to its fullest extent. And then you reach out a conclusion, not in a hurried situation as it took place, by the ECOWAS sanctioning all these member countries. How come by you sat down, you sanction your member country for over a year, in the case of Mali 2 years, in the case of Burkina 1 year, in the case of Chiani about a couple of months. You don't have a word. You've not gone there. ECOWAS have not gone there to check on the ground that what is happening. If you read at their communique that they are taking this decision to reverse the sanctions to ease up the pressure, economic pressure, and then the citizens. Who told you the citizens have been affected? Who told you the citizens are crying? Who told you the citizens are in utmost famine or drought or they are starving? How does ECOWAS play the principles of the organizational rules and ethics and the moral ethics, governance ethics, diplomatic ethics, etc.? There is none. Because some countries like Mauritania, why Nouakchott government decided to leave ECOWAS? Let's go and find out the reasons. The reasons were very clear. What were some of the reasons? The reasons was that in the high period of when Ghana was staging coup every 2-3 years, Nigeria was doing the same thing. Obasanjo, Buhari, Sani Abacha, okay? IBB, Babangida, Sani Abacha, ranging from the time of Murtala Muhammad. All these countries, they were doing coup, having coup d'etats. Ghana starting also a Champon, a Kufo, Wades, and that Jerry 1, Jerry 2, all this. Ghana was not expelled. Ghana was not banned. Ghana was not barricaded. Ghana was not sanctioned. Nigeria coup d'etats, they were not sanctioned. Why coup d'etats in Mauritania at the same time, and they were sanctioned, and Ghana and Nigeria were left scot-free. That is why the Mauritanians raised an issue of favoritism. They raised an issue of what? Certain countries feel that they are top, superior than the others. And for that matter, we've gone out from the ECOWAS bloc. Is that the only country that has gone out from the ECOWAS bloc? It is not a matter that anybody is against ECOWAS. It is a matter of the fact that ECOWAS, in its practicality and principles, and if you're talking about operations, they are older than European Union. So today, if you look at where European Union have reached, all the goals set down standards by ECOWAS, by European Union, they've managed to live up to 90% of expectations. What does it make? It tells you that those people like Blaise Compaoré, my good friend Togo president, and others, whilst they were presidents of the ECOWAS, they do not have opposition leaders in their country. They do not allow elections to go on, free and fair elections to go on in their country. And yet, they were ECOWAS presidents. They were ECOWAS leaders at a point in time. So where do we strike the diplomatic healthy balance? So it is none. Therefore, if you say that you've sanctioned and you sanctioned and sanctioned, they say we've agreed, we've accepted. Now we put ourselves together to just only advance on our own economic what? Freedom, emancipation, and then we protect our territorial distance. How now that you turn around, that you've lifted the sanctions, go and compensate them. Tell the ECOWAS members, they think that ECOWAS is only the office of the presidents, or ECOWAS is only the parliamentarians, or the group of the distinguished men and women who assemble or congregate on a table, conference room, and call ECOWAS. No, ECOWAS is me. ECOWAS is you. Because the larger population faces the entire West Africa, huge population on the entire West Africa. We are the people representing ECOWAS, not those men and women sitting in that office. So if there is an issue, and some of us are pointing out that you are diplomatically wrong, exercise and explore up to the last limit, the diplomatic angle. So now we have ECOWAS. How come by the ECOWAS are not going to support Nigeria to fight Boko Haram? You can't choose and pick what favors the ECOWAS in terms of talking, and you can't choose and pick what affects certain people, how they feel their country is being handled. Therefore, it is very good They've seen the light, but some of us are saying that it came too late, and we are saying that it will be difficult for these three countries to turn around and say that they are coming back to the ECOWAS bloc.
Take you to the presidency, the Jubilee House, where President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo received letters of credence from some countries seeking to pave way for the ambassadorial duties right here in our country, and also fostering relations between their countries and ours. The President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, assured them of his commitment when it comes to putting Ghana and their countries together, and also looking at the many opportunities that comes with bilateral relations between Ghana and its development countries.
Ambassador Designate, Republic of Serbia. It's an honor for me to present to Your Excellency the letters by which the President of the Republic of Serbia, His Excellency Aleksandar Vučić, has accredited me as Ambassador Extraordinary Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Serbia to the Republic of Ghana. I have the honor to present at the same time the letter of support of my predecessor. For me, on that role, I will try everything possible in my power to further increase our excellent relations in bilateral economic cooperation in different fields and international arena as well. We have many things in common, and we share many values, and in this ever-changing world, these values will stay always strong and keep our friendship permanent. I will try to do my best to further enhance the relations, and I want to congratulate, to thank you once again for accepting my credentials as Ambassador Extraordinary Plenipotentiary of the Republic of Serbia to the Republic of Ghana.
So, Ambassador, first of all, you're welcome.
Thank you.
To Jubilee House and to Ghana. Let me congratulate you on your appointment as Ambassador of Serbia to Ghana. Serbia and Ghana, we have strong historical links, I'm sure, as you know.
Yes.
Going back to the time when Serbia was part of Yugoslavia and the time of Joseph Broz Tito. He, with others, was one of the people, with our own leader, Kwame Nkrumah, who founded the Non-Aligned Movement. And in fact, as a result of that, I myself was in Serbia. I had the good fortune to meet with your president. We became quite friendly.
Yes.
So I know tall man.
You are highly respected in Serbia.
I see. Oh, that's good. But we're very happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Happy to have an embassy
Thank
that's
you.
been reopened. And we're looking forward to deepening the relations between our two countries. I think there's a lot that we can do together with Serbia and Ghana. And I'm sure that during your period here. So you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
And the officials who are here and on this side are all available to you to help you in your work and make sure that your tenure of duty is successful. There's the Chief of Staff at the Office of the President, Deputy Foreign Minister, and the Deputy Chief of Staff, officials of the Foreign Ministry are all there to help you.
Excellency, Mrs. Cecilia Ubonu, Ambassador Designate, Republic of Sudan.
Maintenant, je suis
ici à Accra.
dans mon pays, j'espère bien. Et je crois que le message important, c'est qu'on avait déjà commencé pour la négociation pour comment on appelle, pour la coopération. Et donc, pour rester la part de la Guinée équatoriale, que vite fait, on va envoyer une lettre pour que la population puisse se réunir à Malabo. Mais on est trop intéressé à l'agriculture parce qu'au Ghana, il y a beaucoup de l'agriculture, c'est très développé. Et c'est même si c'est petit habitants, mais on est intéressé à développer l'agriculture, aussi la section de pétrole aussi.
Welcome to Jubilee House to Ghana, and then we congratulate you on your appointment as Ambassador of Equatorial Guinea to Ghana.
Je vous souhaite la bienvenue, Madame Son Excellence l'ambassadeur de la République de la Guinée équatoriale, et nous vous félicitons de votre désignation en tant qu'ambassadeur de votre pays vers le Ghana.
We've had for a long time very good relations between our two countries.
Pendant longtemps, nous avons eu de bonnes relations entre les deux pays.
And we have to find ways to increase and intensify those relations.
Et nous devons trouver des voies et moyens à développer et à intensifier ces relations.
I think the idea, the possibility of us cooperating on agricultural development is a very good idea.
Je pense que la possibilité de collaboration dans le domaine de l'agriculture est une très bonne idée.
So you'll be hearing from officials about that.
Donc nous allons poursuivre cette conversation avec les officiels.
It's good to see you here in Ghana.
C'est bien de vous voir ici au Ghana.
Great to relations between Guinea and Ghana.
Thank you very much.
Relation entre la Guinée équatoriale et le Ghana.
Ambassador, check. At the same time, it's my honor to present also the letter of involved members.
Would start a little bit on a personal note. For me, seemed to be always logical one day to be posted to Ghana, because my wife, she was born here in Accra. So it was always her wish to come back and to see the country. So that's why she's here with me today. As to me, I have come to Ghana with a wish to do my best, to my utmost for the bilateral relations between the Czech Republic and Ghana. We see Ghana as a pillar of democracy and stability in Africa, and we value very much your efforts in the region, in the problem of the terrorism and instability coming from Sahel. As to the bilateral relations between our countries, they have been historically very good. Former Czechoslovakia played important role in first days of Kenyan independence. And Ghana is for us one of the most important partners in Africa.
So Ambassador, first of all, let me welcome you very warmly to the seat of the presidency of our country, to Jubilee House, to Ghana, and also to congratulate you on your appointment as the Czech ambassador to the Republic of Ghana. You're right. Relations between our two countries have been strong and have been there for quite some time. In the early years of Ghanaian independence, Czechoslovakia, as it was then, played a very significant role in our lives. Many of that generation of doctors, for instance, in Ghana were all trained in Czech. And in the period of Dr. Nkrumah, we had very strong relations with Czechoslovakia, but they've changed. In the course of time, much of those relations have been re-established. We speak about cooperation in the area of defense and security already. There is some strong collaboration in those areas already, and ones that we appreciate and we're expecting, in fact, to intensify and increase, expand. Other areas that you have mentioned, water management, these are all areas where we're very interested in developing an even stronger level of cooperation with you. So I'm hoping that your period here as ambassador will coincide with a significant expansion in the relationship between Ghana and Czech. Welcome back.
His Excellency Mr. Manish Gupta, High Commissioner, Designate, India.
Excellency, I have the honor to present Your Excellency the letter by which Honorable President of India has admitted me to High Commission of India to the Republic of Ghana. Excellency, I also have the privilege to present you the letter from the court. Privilege for me to meet you. I extend you the warm greetings from the people and the government of India. Our ties are deep-rooted, historic, and goes back to legacy. And probably, Excellency, you are the best person with such a distinguished political lineage who knows the growth trajectory of Ghana and the spirit of our bilateral ties. Nothing can be the proud symbol than the India House is just across the Jubilee House. That indicates the spirit of our ties. And we are so thankful to Your Excellency for a special affinity towards India. Indeed, we were privileged when you joined us at the founding ceremony of the International Solar Alliance in 2018. These are also the issues which are so close to the heart of Honorable Prime Minister Modi. In fact, our Prime Minister is so deeply invested in advancing the global South. When India chaired the G20 presidency, it was his vision to make it human-centric and all-inclusive. And we were indeed privileged when we addressed the Global South Summit at that point of time. Excellency, thanks to your vision, we see Ghana emerging as an economic hub in this part.
So, High Commissioner, first of all, let me welcome you to the seat of the presidency of Ghana, to Jubilee House, and also to congratulate you very warmly on your appointment as India's High Commissioner to Ghana. India is one of our most important partners, a relationship that predates independence, goes back to the colonial era. So much of Ghanaian nationalism was inspired by the work of Indian nationalists and the development of the Congress Party and the other parties in India had a big impact on us here in Ghana. In fact, our dates, 15th August, 4th August, they're all closely tied. So receiving an Indian High Commissioner here is a highlight in the diplomatic community of Ghana. We admire very much the work that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is doing in India, the transformation, the visible transformation that everybody is witnessing in the fortunes of India, and very, very keen on developing even closer ties. I think the areas you're talking about, development of the cyberspace, technology, these are matters of the highest priority for us here in Ghana.
Present to you His Excellency Mr. Mohammed Burhan Ali, Ambassador Designate Republic of Djibouti.
Et ses vœux de prospérité au peuple frère du Ghana.
Excellency President of the Republic, first of all, I'd like to thank you for the warm welcome and also to extend greetings from my President to you.
Je suis très honoré, une fois de plus aussi, d'être le premier ambassadeur accrédité auprès de la République du Ghana. C'est un honneur pour moi.
I'm also honored to be the first ambassador accredited from my country to yours.
Ma nomination, Monsieur le Président de la République, démontre la volonté de mon gouvernement et de mon pays de rehausser le niveau de coopération et les relations entre nos deux pays frères et amis.
And my designation as ambassador is testament of the desire and the will of my country to deepen ties with your country.
Et je suis persuadé que je pourrai compter sur votre soutien et celui de votre gouvernement dans l'accomplissement de ma mission.
And I'm convinced that I can count on your full support in the carrying out my duties.
So, Mr. Ambassador, first of all, let me welcome you warmly to the presidency of Ghana to Jubilee House, and also to congratulate you on your appointment as Ambassador of Djibouti to Ghana. Indeed, it's a double congratulations because you're the first that has come from there here. So you're very welcome.
Thank you.
Excellence, Monsieur l'Ambassadeur, tout d'abord, je vous souhaite la bienvenue, un accueil chaleureux ici au Ghana et à Jubilee House, le siège de la présidence, et de vous féliciter d'avoir été nommé l'ambassadeur. Et c'est une double félicitation parce que vous êtes le premier ambassadeur à avoir été désigné vers le Ghana.
In your time, we have to find a way of boosting and intensifying the relations between our two countries.
Mr. President, I have the honor to present to you His Excellency Mr. Thomas Felix, Ambassador Designate Slovak Republic.
It is an honor, Mr. President, to present to you the letters by which my President, Her Excellency Madam Nartey, the President of the Slovak Republic, accredited me here as an ambassador extraordinary and plenipotentiary of the Slovak Republic in Africa. I have also sent to present to you the letters of a reveal of my business. For receiving me as an envoy of the Slovak Republic. In the beginning, I would like to present our small, decent delegation, Madam Consul, Mrs. Miriam Felixová, and our honorary consul, Mr. Alan Kodjo. by whom we are starting the new era, because we are really wanted to push the relations. And I would like to highlight our friendly relations between Ghana and Slovakia, and remind that almost exactly 2 years ago you met my Prime Minister during the Europe-Africa summit in Brussels, which was very fruitful, and we want to follow up of this meeting. So that's why also my visit today, and not only today but also during this week in Accra, will be concretized with the meetings in the Foreign Ministry, with the respective dignitaries, and also to let's say the new business community.
Ambassador, you're welcome to Jubilee House, which is the seat of Ghana's presidency, and to congratulate you on your appointment as the ambassador of your country, Slovakia, to Ghana.
Thank you.
It is true about the need for us to intensify our contacts and relations, even though we've had long-standing relations before Czechoslovakia was broken up. You were very much part of our initial years of independence in this country. Several Ghanaian students went to Slovakia, what is now Slovakia, and studied there. So we have already a long contact, and it is, I think, a good moment for us to see how we can develop those relations. And hopefully in your time as ambassador here, we will see an expansion and a deepening of the relations between our two countries.
President, I have the honor to present to you Her Excellency Mrs. Gabriel Van Ambassador Designate, Kingdom of Belgium.
It is an honor for me to present to Your Excellency the letter by which King Philip, King of the Belgians, has accredited me as ambassador to the Republic of Ghana. I am also very honored to present at the same time the letters of recall that I give. Introduce you to my consul, Mr. Dimitri Abraham, who has been living in this country for several decades and serving Belgium as well as Ghana. Absolutely. And today, well, I'm very, very sincerely honored to be accredited as ambassador to Ghana. Our two countries share a lot in common. Both our countries have a key role on their respective continents. Ghana, of course, it is well known, and Belgium as well as hosting the EU institutions, but also currently as a president of the EU Council. And then we're also very much involved in the United Nations system, defending core principles like democracy, rule of law, and I know this is something we share. But also on the bilateral side, Belgium and Ghana have a lot in common, and Belgium is the third EU investor in Ghana, and the second bilateral creditor. We are very proud that Belgium has kept on, has maintained its financial credits and the execution of projects throughout the financial difficulties. And so this is something we're very proud of continuing, and I'm looking forward to continue on this bilateral and multilateral constructive path with Ghana.
So, Madam Ambassador, you're first of all welcome to Jubilee House, which is the seat of the presidency of Ghana, and also have the opportunity to congratulate you on your appointment as Belgium's ambassador to to us here in Ghana. We've had long-standing relations with Belgium, and they have been very fruitful relations. You mentioned some, in the role that you're playing in the creditor committee during the difficulties that we've been going through recently, as well as keeping open lines of finance, which some others cut off, but you haven't. So we're very appreciative of the quality of the relationship between our two countries. And we're hoping that in your time, those relations will be given an even further boost to the mutual benefit of our two countries. Your queen was here in my first term in office.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's a bond that continues. I meet her in several different places in the world. She continues to remember her visit to Ghana. We remember hers here as well.
Well, that will be all for today's episode of Diplomatic Affairs. It's always a pleasure to have you join us on the show as we bring you all the events when it comes to diplomacy and international relations here in Ghana and, of course, beyond the borders of our beautiful country. My name is Harriet Nartey, and I'm so happy that you made time to join us today. We look forward to seeing you same time next week. Enjoy your weekend.